Here.
And it looks like we're live. Yay! My name is Cassandra Williams from Educational Innovation, and this is my famous, extraordinary Raynell.
Hi.
So before we get into how important she is and how special she is to me, last weekend was our birthdays.
Yay!
Yay! And so I definitely want to celebrate. I'm going to sing. I'm not the best singer. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Raynell. Happy birthday to you.
I'm not about to sing, but yeah, I can't do that. Our birthdays. Yep. The 20th for me, the 23rd for you. So
that was right. And so I that's the one thing I do pride myself is I try to say happy birthday at least if I can't do anything. So I appreciate you joining me on this special weekend.
Yes.
So let's go ahead and get into it. Every week I try to introduce somebody new or just try to engage in what's going on in the schools and kind of see from different lenses, different perspectives. So Raynell was one person I reached out to because, like I said, she's an extraordinary speech therapist, but I'm going to have her tell you about how great she is. All right, Miss Ray.
Okay. Like Cassandra said, my name is Raynell. I go by Ray usually. Raynell Herring. I am a speech language pathologist that works for a nonprofit agency, and we provide services to schools in our area. I'm actually the lead speech language pathologist. I kind of supervise a team of about 10 people. And we all work in different schools, and we come together and we meet and discuss challenges and things that we can do better as a team. But mostly the perspective I'll be sharing about is my personal experience in the school that I'm working in right now. So that's what I do. I've been a speech language pathologist for, licensed 17 years.
Whoa.
18 years. I cannot, but that's hard. I don't think I've ever said that out loud. 18 years. I have been doing therapy for 20. Because when you come out of your undergraduate program, you do 2 years of clinical work with curriculum and classes. So I have been actually doing therapy since 2000. And a lot has changed in that time, just from an educational standpoint and from everything. So I've had a unique experience and a unique perspective of kind of what has changed for education, what has changed for just providing services, individualized education plans, IEP, special education. So from that, I'm speaking a lot from the perspective that I've had as a therapist working as a team in a school, because that's where most of my experience is. So,
right. So as I know, I think some of the best experiences are, the people you supervise. So I just want to know, what are some of the people that you supervise? What are your speech educators? What are they saying about this new e-learning push?
I think part of the challenge has been every school has their own way of doing everything. So when I try to support my team, first I have to figure out what is each school doing. Some schools for e-learning, they're doing paper pencil. They're mostly sending home packets and binders. In fact, the school that I work in, that's what they did the first couple of weeks, because everything happened so quickly with the e-learning. Mm-hmm. Schools that didn't already have a template or something in place before this, they had to scramble. So I really think that it really depends on the school and what they already had in place. So a lot of my therapists some of them are lost. Some of them don't have much guidance. So as a team, when all of the therapists get together from all of our schools, we give each other ideas, because some schools have more of I want you to do this. Some are like, we don't know what we're doing. Some schools are in the middle. Some schools have a plan, and it's varying. It's really varying a lot. So I think that's the challenge, because there's no rules in place for everybody. And that's what makes it hard, because we want to do our jobs. We want to service our students. We want to service our teams at schools. And it's hard when something happens so quickly and you've got to shift gears quickly. You got to go from seeing kids face to face to figuring out how you're going to do it on the computer if you can get a hold of the parent.
Right.
So that's been the challenge because not everybody has a thing in place. Now, it has gotten better. A lot of people now have figured something out. A lot of my therapist colleagues have figured out ways to work with their teams, and that's been positive. Just from my own perspective, we've gotten better as me working with the team of students, colleagues at my school, at figuring out how this is looking. But it varies.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. And I'm thinking, I guess when I was when I was a teacher and what that looked like, it would be a pull out, you come get the students from the class, they would go out. I think it sounds like it's, just a challenge, because I know from teachers' perspective, it's a challenge for teachers to get a hold of students. What are some of the areas, I guess, how does that look reaching out to parents, and what is your success rate of even getting the students the services they need?
Good question. It's challenging. Of course, when you're in the school setting, the parents, the kids go to school every day, you have control over that. So you know where the kids are. They're in their classrooms, or they're in, wherever they would be, specials or special education room, where now you have got to have parents on board now, because if there's that levels of services that I'm providing that are different, obviously now I'm not doing the pull out. So some students are getting face-to-face through either a Zoom type setting, just getting therapy that way. Some just got paper pencil packets sent home, and I check in with families a couple times a month. Some are getting more of a consultation where I'm getting access to their academic curriculum, and I'm helping the teachers adapt it, giving them suggestions so it's easier for them. So it's varying by a lot of things. Parent involvement is a huge thing.
Mm-hmm.
I have, total. Let me think. I have 71 students total. A lot of them have varying levels of services. They don't necessarily all get pull out. Some of them are just consult. Some of them are just, it varies. So the ones that are direct, I probably get a hold of 50% of their families at any given time. Now, even that is a varying thing, because you have to understand some families are still working during the day, which is a good thing. They have jobs.
Yeah.
They don't have time to be setting up Zoom calls to the kids to see the therapist. I have a family who is Spanish speaking, and they don't have the internet. So, you can't. So there's a lot of factors you have to consider. There's parent involvement. There's access to technology. Our school gave all of the students after week 3, all of the students were given Chromebooks, which is fantastic. But you got to have internet too. So families that we reached out to that said, well, we don't have the internet. All we have is our phone. So the kid is trying to do his assignments on the phone. So we try to adapt to those families and maybe send home packets that teachers do, or even as a therapist, I might, if I can, send home some things for them to do. So it's really varying by student. And that's hard because it's not the most efficient things. Like student A, okay, I got to do this over here. Student B, I got a Zoom call for. You really have to be ready to change quickly. It's a lot of shifting that's happening.
So we got a message from Tamara. Tamara asked, what platform do you see yourself using? Because it seems like you have different schools. So what platform are you using to communicate with parents?
Google Classroom.
Okay.
That's the main one. See, I work for one school district system, and my team, as far as my team, when I say that, I'm talking about my other therapists, because we all are contractors. Mm-hmm. So we're all contracted to different schools. This year is my first year only being contracted to one school system. So they're all using Google Classroom, where some of my other therapist colleagues are in 2 and 3 different schools. Some are using Google Classroom, some are using Canvas, some are using nothing, it's varying. So I think it's challenging because you have to quickly learn new platforms. Yeah. Very quickly.
Yes.
And when you're a therapist, and I don't want to say I'm old school, but I guess I kind of am. I'm one of the oldest therapists. I'm one of the oldest therapists there. So when I say there, I mean in my facility that we contract to. I work for an office and we all have different schools we're assigned to. So I'm one of the oldest one there as far as years of experience. And you know what? You have to shift what you've been doing for years, ways you've been doing things. Something like this will force you. So we have used Google Classroom, and how I've been using that is for the students that I don't see face to face, I have my own classroom created, and I upload assignments and activities and notes, and hey guys, here's some support for your, that's an example. Here's some support for your language arts assignment that I saw your teacher, some of them are like that. Some of them are practice activities of things we've done before COVID-19. So they don't lose, because that's my main concern. Big picture, you don't want them to lose academic ground.
Yeah.
The other thing is my speech, particularly speech development students that are working on speech sounds, we don't want them to lose everything that they've worked hard for too. So I provide services, and actually my shirt says "Watch Your Language." I'm an SLP, so that's what that says.
Oh, that's cute. I love it.
You can't really see it, but that's what it says. It's my speech and language shirt. So when people think of a speech therapist, they think, oh, you just work on SL and LISPs and things, but I also provide language support services. So students who are, most of them are in some type of special education. They have trouble accessing the curriculum, maybe comprehending, or they have trouble with understanding concepts like main idea. And, the teacher will teach it, but they still don't get it. So then, I got to work deeper levels. So there's a lot of opportunity there to kind of modify assignments, read through what they are given. Now, I don't have access to all the assignments. It's the teachers who I work the closest with that add me to their Google Classrooms, or, the special education teachers that have their own curriculum. I'm added to all of their classrooms. So that helps me to see what they're expected to do.
That could be a challenge too.
So
yeah, that's great. That's great. So I guess I want to ask about the fall. A lot of what we're doing in education seems like piecemealing things together just to get through. What is your district saying for the fall? Are they thinking like maybe virtual learning, maybe staggering class times, maybe online only? What are some ideas that are going around?
Well, okay, so I've been hearing, of course, this is rumors that, but I've been hearing talking about maybe starting slowly where you're part-time in the building, part-time doing virtual. I've heard doing more virtual. It's no one, of course, knows, but we have to be ready for the idea that this may continue into the fall, with some in the building as well, just kind of slowly integrating things back, which we were just talking about this with my special education team through the school I work in, how that would work. Because if I'm supporting some students virtually and some students in it, that I'm not sure how that's going to look.
Right.
So I'm trying to be open, and I'm trying to keep the main point is to try to provide as much service as I can to my students. And, we really have to, I had to tell my team members, we have to think of these people. When I say these people, families and students, it's a big picture we're looking at. There's a lot of families that are hurting right now. A lot of families have lost their job. I call a family to ask them about, hey, did you see the fact that I started Google Classroom? I didn't see that your student had joined. And they tell me, well, I don't know what we're going to do because I just lost my job. They're with their dad for the next 2 weeks. I don't know what we're going to do. So then you kind of have to be human and think, okay, we want to support the students educationally, but be keeping in mind that COVID-19 is hurting a lot of people. People are getting sick. I have a family, a student whose mom is sick with it. It's a lot. So it's a lot of shifting. There's a lot of differences that we didn't even think of before this, but this is really shifting the way we're thinking as far as treating the whole child and thinking a big picture than just, hey, they're not getting their speech services, or they're not getting their that's important, but we got to think of, other things going on. So,
I find most of my conversations with a lot of my teachers are, how are you doing? How are you feeling? And how can I support you before we even get to content knowledge or what you're doing in your classroom? And, like we were saying, there are different platforms, but how do we best support our teachers? I think
Mhm.
that's been an ongoing struggle. So I want to ask, because many times I don't know what schools are doing, and maybe it's out of the box or maybe it's something current or traditional. Any out of the box things you've been doing to reach out to parents? Um,
Well, reaching out to families has been a challenge. Now, we have used a lot of Zoom for our case conference meetings for parents, and that's different for them. So, a lot of times we're kind of having to guide them through how to do that because a lot of people aren't, you take for granted some of the platforms that you may know as a professional.
yeah.
And we tell, here's a link to go to my Zoom so you can get on this meeting. And they're going, what? Well, we'll just do a phone conference. I think the thing that's out of the box is just, I feel like my team, as far as the school I work in, we're doing a really good job of providing different, ways for parents to engage with us, using the different platforms. And I feel like I have done better with trying to access the curriculum that they are trying to do and modify some of that for our students that are appropriate.
Mm,
We're doing a lot more consulting. I feel like the consulting end is a little bit different now that we're using this platform, because it used to be that it wasn't until something was not going well that I would go to the teacher and say, well, what's going on? But now for the teachers that have given me access to the materials, I feel like I can see so much more. And it's like, oh, well, this is what they need to be doing. Let me make sure they got the language skills to do it. You know, so it's been different, but I feel like we're really being flexible, and you have to be. That's probably the best thing I can say. It's just we're shifting a lot, and we're being okay with shifting a lot. But that's
no, I totally agree. I think with me, I find that it's been a change. It's been a struggle because I sometimes am uncomfortable with tech issues, but I'm reader. I'm very knowledgeable, but then I can only imagine, the people that I'm working with. And I think time management, what does that look like, has been a struggle for our students, and even me trying to reach out. And most of my kids, like, what platform are they using? Can I DM them and kind of figure out to, how do I bridge that gap and try to make a community again? Because the community in the classroom, oh, we gelled and we had it together, but now it's like recreating a community and getting my kids back and getting them back engaged. And it's the end of the year, so some people feel like, the year's a wash, but I'm like, no, let me get my babies engaged. I don't know, are your teachers feeling any of that?
I think what I've been feeling is our concept of our school that we work in.
Yeah.
We work to the end.
Yeah.
So I know the teachers are continuing to upload work on a day-to-day basis every day until the last week. I'm not sure how that's going to look. Our last day is May 15th, whatever that Friday is. Could be the 14th. I haven't looked at the calendar, but I do know their methodology. I mean, as far as their their thing is, you keep going to the end, teacher-wise now. And I think that the reason, and they've said this before, if you show that you're going to work to the end and show how important it is to work to the end as a teacher or an educator, then they will more likely to. If you start pumping the brakes and relaxing, then the kids, and it's already hard. I mean, I'm being honest, it's already hard to engage our students right now. I'm even saying I'm not the only one that's having trouble with engagement. The same students that aren't doing their regular ed work or special ed work, it's a hit and miss with them too. I'm like, I don't want to say I'm low on the totem pole, but for a lot of people, it's like, oh, I'm just going to do the language arts work, and I'm not going to worry about what Miss Herring assigned, or you know what I mean? But I'm going to continue to push forth until the end. So, because that's our school's thing. We keep going. We keep trying to reach out, and we may seem like we're bothering people, calling families, but we don't want them to think we have not tried, and we are, you know what I'm saying? So I still try to reach out. I still spend a good portion of my time making phone calls, sending emails. And my students I support, I touch base with families once a week. I don't do it every day like the other educators do. That would be a lot. But I try to reach out to all my families once a week in some way. Email, telephone call, uploading assignments or uploading activities for them. I try every week, some way to contact, because I feel like I want them to see, hey, I'm still here.
Yep.
I'm
Yep.
still
I totally agree.
Yeah,
And
so that's kind of how we do things.
no, I totally agree. Go to the end, go hard. I love it. I guess we'll just end on that note. So I really appreciate you, Ms. Herring, for coming on and sharing your, wonderful lens of education and being a speech. And is there anything else you want to add before we go?
Really, I think that one thing that I didn't say, students that have special needs in general have a harder time accessing the curriculum. That goes without saying. But sometimes it's just to keep in mind, with the e-learning platforms, a lot of our kids are having a harder time engaging. And not just because the parents can't always be there or they don't have internet. I mean, that's definitely a problem. But the other issues is that kids with special needs a lot of times can't sit in front of a computer and learn that way. They need the hand over hand assistance. They need in-person assistance. And I think that is sometimes something that may get lost in this. A child with Down syndrome may not be able to sit and engage with a lesson the same on an e-learning platform as in hand over hand, because I did like cooking activities with students. I did things like that with some of my students with more moderate needs. So this has been hard to them. So I'm doing a lot of uploading lessons to families and encouraging them to continue, because this platform, I mean, we take it for granted, but not everybody can do it. So I just want you to keep that perspective.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you for coming on. Right. And until next time.
Yep.
Bye.
Thanks for having me.
Anytime.